physical sales, digital downloads, and it's actually also, there's a mechanical royalty attached to when people play those songs. And it's more like user generated. It can also be like from radio, like Spotify radio, Apple Music radio, Pandora, things like that, where it's non-user generated, where, someone isn't sitting there like clicking it necessarily. But yeah, it can be music being played from DSPs. The MLC covers is, the digital mechanical plays that are happening, but it is physical sales. People are buying albums and vinyl again. That's one. And digital downloads. Yes, it's all encompassed into the mechanical. Sync, that's not something that a PRO oversees. Like there's a sync license that happens that gets negotiated through the publisher, including the self-administered publisher. And every writer that's involved and whoever their corresponding publisher is, they negotiate that sync right with whoever's wanting to use that music in a visual medium. When it turns into a performance right is when it's actually played on TV or on demand, or a film is played on TV. That's when a sync right or sync that happened turns into a performance right.
And this connects to whenever it's played on social media or YouTube?
And that's different, I think. I hate to say that I'm not as well versed on that, but that could be different than, you've got on-demand things that are happening that could be a public performance, but you're not going to get as much of a royalty from an on-demand play as you would from something playing on TV on Thursday or Friday night or something like that. The pay varies depending on when it's being played, on what channel it's being played to. 3 a.m. on the History Channel, and I love the History Channel, don't get me wrong, I love them. But it's not going to pay as much at 3 a.m. because the audience is probably lower who's watching than, network television, 7 p.m., or something like that. You can read about it in the About Us. Some of our CSAC website talks about music licensing too, and that's how our music that we represent gets licensed as well. And it helps licensees understand the process and get connected with us so that they're in compliance with U.S. copyright law. Like if you go into the More tab, it talks about us, our awards and events. We have CSAC Latina link there as well. FAQ is really about kind of licensing. And there's also an affiliate FAQ as well that you can, talking about, where can I send my cue sheets? I'm working with a CSAC writer. How do I open a CSAC publishing account? Stuff like that. We didn't even get into cue sheets. That's a whole other thing. Cue sheets, that's related to sync. And that's how we know when something is being used, like in a TV show or a film playing on TV, and, the various ways that it's categorized within the show. Like, is it being used as background music or the main open title theme or the end credits, things for how long and who are the songwriters? Yeah, who are the songwriters being used? Production companies should be sending those to the PROs. We do have a cue sheets team and like a specific email if someone wants to send it to us that way. But, for commercials being played on TV shows, films on TV.
Do people ever, how is that enforced? Like, do people ever put stuff on a show and then they don't send a cue sheet?
That does happen. Sometimes it takes a while for a cue sheet to get to us. Or a production company has the music and they're putting it into the show, but they don't open up a publishing entity to be able to register the works. Like, let's say that production company, they own the work itself. Like, the writer gets to keep their writer's share, which means they would get paid when it becomes a performance after the sync happens, but the production company who owns the publishing share never opens up a publishing entity, right? Or publishing entities at the PROs, the song would never get registered with us. Yeah. And then the writer wouldn't be able to get paid. So sometimes we're working to help, get production companies to open up publishing entities, to make sure that when we get a cue sheet, it's registered properly, and then the money flows to the writer and to the copyright owner, the publisher, meaning the production company. So those are like work for hire situations where you create music, you still get to keep your writer's share, but you don't own the music. Whoever's, the production company is owning the music from that point forward. But yeah, there's people who create their own music and then it gets synced into a show and takes a long time for us to get the cue sheet, which means it takes us longer to be able to pay, the songwriter and the publisher, or, we may miss performances if it doesn't get to us on time. We have to go back to try to find performances. Not always easy. The longer you take to get the data to us, there's performances happening, that we want to find as soon as possible.